Back Issue Book Club, episode 57. Stick around. Welcome back, family, here to Team Ohana. I'm your host, Rich. Yes, we do our weekly show called the Back Issue Book Club, where we try to read some usually back issues, but I decided to tackle a couple of newer ones this week to find out what all the hubbub was about. And picked up, one of them I already knew because I'm reading this one as part of the Back Issue Book Club. It is the Kill Your Darlings, and this is issue number 6 of 8. This actually came out a couple weeks ago, but I finally had a chance to read it this weekend, which is good because now we don't have to wait so long for issue number 7. The other two big books that I read were Ultimate Spider-Man, issues 1 and 2, and Avengers Twilight, issues 1 and 2. Give you my thoughts and feelings on how these are. So, if I can, also just remind you, please don't forget to like and subscribe and share the videos with other people. Click on notifications so you know when more stuff is dropping. And please drop comments down below. I want to know if you guys are reading, what you recommend. I'm contemplating, because I just finished Saga, and one of our Patreon members, one of our coconuts, Robert Monroe, asked me if I've ever read Strangers in Paradise by Terry Moore. And I looked it up, and I started looking at issue number 1. It's very highly rated. It's also 81 issues, I think. And I don't know if I want to get involved in something that long right at this time. I did see that it's if you have a first print of number 1, it's a very expensive book. 9.8s are hitting over $3,000. Even off-condition ones are pretty expensive. So, but that being said, I started looking at issue number 1 digitally, and I don't know if it's my cup of tea. I'm going to read a couple of issues to see how it is, but if it's just not me, I'm not going to waste my or your time and try to get into it. But that's not what you're here. You want to hear what I have to say about these particular books. Okay, so Kill Your Darlings, number 6. The series continues to slay. I love it. We're getting a little bit of back information on who the demon is and his creation. It's a little hard to understand. It's kind of reminds me of WandaVision a little bit. Like they tell you something and then they go back and they fill in the blanks. So we've got that demon, but it looks like he was forged or made by his grandmother, who slayed her own family, offspring, whatever, in an effort to stay alive forever. But she actually cared about her grandson, so she did something different for him. But he was still dead by the age of 22, according to the dates on his urn. But she summoned him back, and apparently he is the demon that is in the fantasy world for Rose. And they easily bested Rose. But then again, Rose isn't really at the point where she's fighting back yet. I don't think she understands the power that she wields. To her, it's all an imaginary world, and while she was the queen and fighter and everything of the savior, all-powerful being, the god of that world, it was when she was a kid, so it's all make-believe. And I think, we've got 2 issues left. She should step into her own, especially since now you've got the grandmother and the demon now just killing characters in this fantasy world. The artwork, by the way, is still beautiful, spot on. But I think that she's got to... Rose is going to take a step up, and I think it's going to get really interesting in episode 7, and I think the climax in 8 is going to be amazing. So, I'm thinking now that Kill Your Darlings is from this, I guess, grandmother or whatever, her point of view is that she is the one that has been killing her kids, her children, or whatever. And this kind of makes sense with some of the earlier things that we saw, like the old 18th century or late or early 19th century mother that the father comes home and finds his mother, his wife, has killed the infant and the child in the crib. This person has been doing this for a long period of time, and it's her way of, staying young or staying alive forever. So the fact that she looks so old now is showing that she is not sacrificing her darlings anymore. So I'm still loving the story and still highly recommended. If you can, I believe you still can get 1 through 6 for pretty much cover price. This book never took off as far as price, so absolutely worth the read. If you see it, grab it, add it to your list. Moving on to two of the hot books right now. We've got Chip Zdarsky's Avengers Twilight. I read number 1 and number 2. And I like it, but I do find things a little bit... I'm getting a little bit too tired of, we're going to give you some of the information and we'll tell you everything you need to know later. I much prefer the Tom Clancy style of writing, which is, I just gave you a 700-page book. The first 100 pages is boring as shit. It's every piece of information you're going to need for the entire book. Then once you hit page 101, it's a roller coaster ride. So this one kind of, these kind of stories, well, we're in this particular circumstance. We're not going to tell you how we got in this circumstance. We're going to spoon feed it to you over the next 5 issues. And once in a while you get that kind of storyline. It's great, but it seems like everything is like that lately. That being said, we've got a futuristic time period. I guess it's probably about 30 years in the future. Somehow Palpatine returned. Some catastrophic thing, H-Day, Hero Day, happened where like Boston was, they say destroyed or a catastrophe, and they say, and hundreds of people died. Dude, if Boston was destroyed, there'd be millions of people dead. Not hundreds, millions. But from what I gather from the reading, and this is kind of the information in issue 2, a consortium of villains were able to find out all the secret identities of all the heroes and their next of kin and their loved ones, and set this massive trap where they got them all together and they did something. Spider-Man dies, and you see a couple other people in the background. So one corpse with the number 4 on it. Couldn't tell if it was Sue, Johnny, or Reed. Don't know. So other superpowered corpses, but I have no idea who they were. So some reference to Doctor Strange, but I don't know if he was being if he was saved or he wasn't. I don't know. But being heroes now is, forbidden. Technology is you don't see people going around with cameras and filming everything anymore. They had an act kind of like the Patriot Act that was happening in the United States after 9/11, and a lot of people call that like a conspiracy theory. That this conspiracy theorists will say that if the U.S. government didn't stage 9/11, then they at least knew of it, and they could use that as their platform to gain more control of the public. Not going to say whether it's true or not. I'm just saying that is a conspiracy theory. This kind of is like that. They're taking a traumatic event, kind of like how they did V for Vendetta, and using it against you so the government has control. And I don't think there's anybody that will deny that the government does have more control over us now than we would like. This kind of storyline has been kind of beaten to death, but it shows some, like Luke Cage, old Cap had to surrender the super serum formula in his blood. Was that like taken out through dialysis? I couldn't tell you. I don't know. But he had a Matt who was also around as an older attorney. something happened and Luke tells Cap that Matt's been killed. It happens off screen, so we don't know. Did it actually happen? Is this as bad as it is? And there's a new group of Avengers which are supposedly, this is what we hear from Luke Cage and the Underground. It may be, it may not be. I don't know if Cap's being played here. The Avengers are off in other countries committing atrocities, but the media is telling the people here in the United States that they're off defending the weak and helping preserve freedom the American way, and you got this fight going on here, and we're going to send the Avengers to help. And meanwhile, the Avengers are actually the bad guys. Not to be mistaken for the Thunderbolts, which are mercs for hire, I guess you'd say. You've got, I don't know if he's a bad guy or not yet. I can't quite get a feel of it. Tony Stark's and Janet Van Dyne's son, who has their father's intelligence. I don't know if it's an AI with his brain algorithm in it, or he actually has, like, his dad's skull in stasis, kind of like Walt Disney's head frozen or whatever, and he's tapping into his dad's mind for information, for knowledge and everything. There's a lot of things going on in this. The artwork is pretty good. We'll see how the story pans out, but so far it's having a tough time keeping my interest in it, because it just seems like every little bit that I read, I'm like, oh, this is from that storyline. Oh, this is from that storyline. There's nothing really that original in it to me. So I guess I've read too many comic books, and you can't infinitely come up with new stories. I get it, but maybe I just have had too much of it myself. That being said, though, it's still, I wouldn't pay the price that it is going for, but I would read it digitally. Which, by the way, even though I have the book, I did read it digitally because I want to get this. I want to press this one and send it, and I want to take a chance of getting any type of spine ticks or damage on it. Speaking of not wanting to get damage on a book, I also read digitally The Amazing Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man 1 and 2. This one is definitely alternate universe. We don't know which universe it is. But there was a traumatic event which happened. Seems to be a common theme here in comic books these days. In an alternate reality, so you've got Peter Parker, who is a normal dad, also married to Mary Jane, 2 great kids, and he works for the Daily Bugle. So does his uncle, Ben. And his uncle Ben is editor, or running the paper, one or the other. But J. Jonah Jameson's also there. Still a little salty, but a better person, a decent guy. I guess he didn't turn that mean until he actually had Spider-Man. I don't know. There was some kind of traumatic event in the past, which was supposedly done by Tony Stark. And May, along with a lot of other people, get killed, and this was there's a memorial and everything else. Norman Osborn died. Not Sharon Osborn. Ozzy will kill me. No, whoever Norman Osborn's wife was, and Harry Osborn is still around. So Wilson Fisk owns the Daily Bugle, or bought it, or whatever, and he's trying to make sure that the news is manipulated the way he wants it to be perpetrated. Robbie and J. Jonah quit the paper to do their own thing. There was a hologram which was delivered to Peter Parker, who then plays it, and it's Tony Stark in the 6 months in the future, I think. Or he said, you're not going to see me for 6 months. I'm going to be hiding or in stasis or whatever. And he knows of all these different heroes that were created in his timeline, which for some reason in this timeline, the events that led to their creation were all stopped and altered. So he says that I'm trying to rectify that, so when I come out of stasis in 6 months, I'll have all these heroes to work with me. Okay. So he's building an army. Got it. And he sends to Peter the radioactive spider. Nowhere does it say where he happened to get this radioactive spider, or how he knows it's exactly the same one, or did he create his own, and with what radiation. It's a little thin. But Peter feeling like, something's just missing from my life. Dude, you are married to MJ, you're employed, she's employed, you have 2 great kids. What's missing from your life? Okay? Because you feel like you were destined to be Spider-Man, and it's like, for some reason I feel like I should just be swinging. I don't know. But anyway, he's like, yeah, something is missing from my life. So even though Tony Stark is the person that caused all those deaths, and he sent me a radioactive spider, I'm gonna let it bite me. It makes no sense to me. I'm sorry. It just, if you just read it, nothing in here makes sense to me. Okay? Wilson Fisk controlling the news. There's only one newspaper in New York City. Okay, I understand the Daily Bugle was made up, but currently in New York City, if you can still find newspapers, of course, you had the Newsday, you had the Daily News, you had the Post, you had the New York Times. I don't even read newspapers, and I know of 4 newspapers on the top of my head. These used to be the Herald. The New Yorker is not really a newspaper, but come on, man. This world, this reality is not the same as the Avengers Twilight, where everything was systematically removed by government control. You still have people with cell phones, with cameras, with the internet and everything else. Why would they be able to control information this easily in Ultimate Spider-Man? So a lot of it is just, it's not written right for me. Sorry. I read issue 1 and I read issue 2. I will continue to read it. I'll see if I can pick up the I have the Ultimate Black Panther. I think I have the Ultimate X-Men also on order. But I'm not that big a fan for it. As far as ratings, I usually wait till the end of the series to give a rating, but I'll just try to give you an idea of how I'm feeling about them so far. Kill Your Darlings overall, 1 through 6. It's a solid 8. Okay, it's not Saga, but it is excellent. I do love it. And yes, if you didn't see last week's episode, I finished Saga, and man, I love it. Avengers Twilight has some redeeming features, even though it's a little bit kind of a beating a dead horse as far as storyline. But I will give it a 6.5 from issues 1 and 2. But Ultimate Spider-Man, I'm not a fan of this so far. And I'm just going to call it a 4.5 to a 5. It's right up the middle. That if it doesn't get better, I will not finish the series. If it at least maintains, I may. We'll see how it is. Okay, so that is where I am. For next week, I will read the Ultimate Black Panther, and I will also digitally read the Ultimate Universe. And I will start Strangers in Paradise. And if it's a good story and it keeps my attention, and I feel like I have something positive to give back to you as far as information, I will try to knock out the first 6 issues. Okay? So that's where we are. And again, don't forget to click like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, that we can reach more people and get more information back. Robert, thank you for the suggestion. Remember, not every book is for every person. Okay, I'm fickle. Okay, I'm strange. That's why you tune in. Yeah. Anyway, that's about it. I have my shirt, so I have to make sure that I get my watch along for episode 3 of Bad Batch done. By the time you YouTubers are watching this, they'll already be out to episode 4. But if you wanted to see this earlier, this will be this episode will be premiering for our Patreon members on Monday, 3 days early. I haven't done the podcast because I honestly just don't have a clue how to do it. All right, so guys, I want to thank you so much for joining. Again, like, subscribe, click on notifications, and until I see you in the next video, mahalo.